Hi, everybody.
Hello. So I woke up in a bit of a low mood today, and I took it out on you. I couldn't help myself.
You were doing your best.
I don't know that I was doing my best.
Well, that was your best.
Well, I guess it was my best.
In that moment.
Yes, in that moment it was my best.
We all do the best we can in each moment based on what we know.
We do. And upon reflection, I wish I knew better. I don't even know why. Well, I guess I do know why. I think I had very little sleep, and I had a very restless night, and I woke up with a pretty bad headache, and then I just wanted to just hang out, and you wanted to talk about serious things. And I don't like talking about serious things when I've just woken up, especially with a headache. And I've had a little sleep.
I didn't know you had a headache.
And in the process of you wanting to talk about serious things, I could detect a critical undertone to some of the things that you were saying.
A soup song.
I don't know if it was a soup song. It was more of a... It was
Teaspoon?
No, I would say it was at least it was a half a cup. Well, half a cup of pretty serious, critical herbs and spices were put in your dish. Anyway, so I got a bit reactive around that, and then...
Oh, a bit. I'm half a cup, and you're a bit. If I'm half a cup, you're a gallon.
Well, I wasn't at that point. I had to let it marinate for a little bit, because I took our youngest daughter to school, and I think I spent most of the car journey back really stewing over what had happened, and having all kinds of vitriolic thinking about you, and how horrible you were. And then when we got back, I decided to just come and unleash all that sentiment on you. And then we're off to the races. The dance of death ensued, and before you know it, actually you were getting pretty reactive too. But what was so cool about it, in retrospect, is that at the point where you started to get quite reactive, I thought, well, actually, maybe I've pushed one or two buttons a little too far here. There was this little part of me was saying, well, maybe this would be a good point to extricate yourself from the situation, because knowing what you know, that there will probably come a point where you will come back into balance and you won't feel the same way. And so I walked out into the living room, and although my ego was really trying to persuade me otherwise, that this was probably the final straw that broke the camel's back. I cannot be with this woman any longer. She is a nightmare.
You went there?
No, I didn't. But my ego wanted me to go there.
Oh, but you didn't go
there.
My
ego was like, come with me, young man. I will take you to the promised land.
Young man.
That's how my ego sees me. And then, but no, because I do know better. Because that other part of me, the higher part of myself, I could hear a little echo saying, you will come back into balance and you won't hate your wife anymore. And so ultimately that's what happened. I distracted myself, not purposely distracted myself with other things. I think I looked at yesterday's football results, and that pleased me.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Who knows what would have happened if they didn't please you?
And before I knew it, I was back in balance, and I thought, look, there. Our daughter is in our eldest daughter is in our youngest daughter's room, which is always a source of contention. I don't know if you heard that clang. Anyway, I digress. Came back into balance, and then I realised at that point I was able to then sort of assess the situation, and once I started to assess the situation, I could become more philosophical and see how, yeah, look, every time I come back into balance, I actually realise that the most important thing for me in our relationship is being in loving connection with you. And what is more, if I want to hold a position of self-righteousness or be angry at you, the only one that's really suffering with that ultimately is me. Or actually, in very selfish terms, I'm actually creating my own suffering. I might cause some suffering for you, but that would be your choice in the matter. But ultimately, why would I want to hold on to that? And then once I see it through that lens, it's like, of course I'm going to come in and apologize, even though my ego's like, don't you go and apologize to her, she started it. But really,
with my half a cup of criticism.
Half a cup of criticism. but you know, it's great to be able to see that, you know, how I just created all that drama for myself, and I'm ultimately the one that's it's like a self-inflicted wound.
Well, it's so interesting also how, you know, what in your mind was half a cup of criticism was to me a barely noticeable hint of it. And it just goes to show how we live in our own separate realities. What you experience one way, I experience completely differently. And in terms of the reactivity, I'm so grateful that there's an understanding about the fluid nature of thought and how it changes and how our experience changes based on thinking changing. Because in the past, if that had happened, I would have absolutely gone to that place of I can't be with this man, it's not, you know, how can I do this? This is too much, you know, it's not fair. And I would have just gone, that's what my ego says to me. But even in the moment, I knew, like, we're just going to get over this. I'm going to get over myself. I'm just taking him personally right now. I've got destabilized, but I can just get over that. And I don't need to hold on to any resentment about that. I don't even need to think about it, because ultimately what you're pointing to is that I love you, and that's all that really matters. And if I love you, I obviously want to be with you. And what's the point of not getting over myself and not getting over my resentment? And when I see that all it is a thought that I'm getting over, I'm not even getting over you. I'm really just getting over my own thinking and not staying in the rumination of it. It's like, oh, well, that's not such a bad thing. And it's actually quite easy to do, and it doesn't take very long.
And the moral to this tale is half a cup of criticism. It's better than a gallon of vitriol.
I'm glad you're amusing yourself. Is that a song? I mean, is that a tune?
Yes, I'm going to try and get it published immediately. I'm going to make a fortune.
Probably make it to English top of the
Oh,
pops.
I think it comes from Mary Poppins, the tune.
Is that,
although
yeah.
I butchered it in no uncertain
It's
terms.
like a teaspoon of sugar makes a
Oh,
medicine
that was
go
it,
down.
something like that. I think we better stop before I get even into more trouble.
Maybe you should know the song tune before you start singing it.
Oh, just being spontaneous.
Okay, sorry. There's my gallon of criticism.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
That's not the bye.